back again with another review, and this is actually a Patreon request from Creative Comics. He wanted me to talk about and review The Next Karate Kid, so let's talk about The Next Karate Kid. Now, to sort of backtrack on the previous films, The Karate Kid, to me, is a great film. To me, it's still a classic. It's a film that still works because of the chemistry between the characters of Daniel-san and Miyagi. Even though now it seems like whenever the film is mentioned or brought up, it's not about the film, but it's about the whole theory about, what if Daniel is the real bully? And to me, that's just people that have way too much time in their hands. It seems like the discussion has shifted about that and not about the film. Like, we rather talk about this theory. We don't want to talk about, what makes the original Karate Kid work. Whether if it's the cast or the soundtrack or, the great direction from John Avildsen, who prior to the Karate Kid directed Rocky. But, to me, the Karate Kid is a film that, again, still holds up, tells a great story, great characters, great soundtrack, great score by Bill Conti. So I love the Karate Kid. The Karate Kid Part 2, to me is a very worthy sequel. I like that Daniel-san goes to Okinawa, and this time you have an even more of a deadlier foe in Chosen. And I like the relationship between Daniel-san and the girl. I like the soundtrack of, Glory of Love by Peter Cetera. And it's my favorite of the franchise. And I really enjoyed, again, the aspect of Daniel being in Okinawa. And it's a film that I would like to rewatch again. I do have all the Karate Kid movies. And it's been a minute since I've revisited the franchise. Well, I've watched the Next Karate Kid because of this request. But, I would like to go back and watch, the first two again. But Karate Kid Part 2, again, to me is a very worthy sequel. Karate Kid Part 3, to me, is a bad sequel. Is it the worst sequel? No. But for me with that film, it's like, Daniel-san forgot what Miyagi had taught him. I don't really care for the villains that much. Terry Silver, I know there's a lot of talk about, Terry Silver, is he coming back for Cobra Kai? But when you look at the film, and even Ralph Macchio, at that time he was pushing 30. So he's not a kid anymore. He's almost 60. He's 60 going on 40. But, yeah, when you look at it, Ralph Macchio, he doesn't age. I swear, him and Keanu Reeves, they drink from the same fountain of youth. But at that time, Karate Kid Part 3, he was pushing 30. So he's not a kid anymore. And at times, I remember, and again, this is kind of going off of recollection because I haven't seen the film in a while, but, throwing more tantrums, forgetting what Miyagi taught Daniel-san. And it's just a very, poor sequel. Directed by John Avildsen. Right after that, directing Rocky V. So, at the time, John Avildsen, wasn't really directing great sequels. But, yeah, The Karate Kid Part 3, again, it's just, to me, a bad movie. A bad sequel. And, again, you can say Ralph Macchio was too old at that point. Pat Morita's not the problem. And that's one thing throughout the series, a constant. The denominator that really, works throughout the franchise is the character of Mr. Miyagi. He's the heart and soul of the franchise. But, getting to the Next Karate Kid. Now, watching this again, I would say, at the end of the day, to me, this is a time waster. Do I have some problems with the film? Yeah, I have a couple of problems with the Next Karate Kid. in regards to the script. Now, the plot here with this film, in the beginning you have the ceremony that's honoring Japanese American veterans who fought in World War II. Miyagi's in Boston for the ceremony, and he's introduced to this troubled girl, Julie, played by Hilary Swank. And again, she's kind of a troublesome character. You know, she deals with abuse at school from the Alpha Elite. Her parents have died, so she lives with her grandmother, and she's constantly angry at the world. You know, meanwhile, dealing with the stuff, you know, she's taking care of this hawk on top of the school that no one really knows about. So you know, she's taking care of this, you know, this hawk, and she's dealing with the loss of her parents. Again, kind of a troublesome character. And before long, you know, Miyagi, you know, Miyagi's trying to get close to Julie, and you know, in the beginning, you know, Julie doesn't really get along with Miyagi. You know, doesn't want anything to do with Miyagi. But you know, as the film goes along, you know, they form a bond, and Julie becomes Miyagi's pupil, and from there, Miyagi teaches, you know, Julie-san about the meaning of karate, self-esteem, and you know, overcoming you know, certain things going on in her life. But you know, that's kind of the plot here. So you know, the plot is straightforward. Now, when you talk about the cast, you know, Hilary Swank, this was her breakout role. You know, now she's a big-time actress. You know, she would go on to be in $1 Million Baby, and other movies. You know, at the time, I think she was 18, and she had beat out like so many people. You know, like, I was looking up information about the film, like 500 other hopefuls for the role of Julie. And I thought Hilary Swank, for what she was given here in this film, I thought she was decent. Now, I would say there's a couple of moments where I don't think the script really helps. Either maybe in terms of dialogue, like, okay, maybe you could have dialed back on that moment, or, you know, dial back on certain moments with her character throwing tantrums or, you know, getting mad at Miyagi. But Hilary Swank, again, I thought she was decent for what she's given here. And because, you know, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, but there's no way, unless you had like a quick cameo where you could have had Ralph Macchio appear. You know, because at this point, Ralph Macchio, he would have been 32, 3, so he's not a Karate Kid anymore. And I wonder if this movie would have, I'm not saying that it needed a Ralph Macchio cameo, but maybe it would have helped a little bit to sort of, okay, here's this new student, here's this new character. Maybe Ralph Macchio is the one that introduces Julie to Miyagi, but again, maybe I'm kind of thinking out loud here. Again, the film didn't really need Ralph Macchio, but it would have been nice to have maybe a small appearance in the film. But again, Hilary Swank, I thought she was decent. Pat Morita here, again, he's good. He's still good as Miyagi. No problems, no qualms with Miyagi, because he's still good. I thought he has some nice moments with Julie, and actually their chemistry here in the film, it's not bad. It's actually kind of a warm chemistry, because Hilary Swank, she's decent enough to where, yeah, in the beginning you kind of get a little bit of the anger from the character, but as the film moves along, the character improves. And I thought her and Miyagi had a warm chemistry. It's not the chemistry of Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita, but I thought that Hilary Swank and Pat Morita had a decent, again, warm chemistry. and you bought Julie a little bit. But even Pat Morita had some nice moments with, certain lines or, trying to tell a lesson. There's actually a quote in here. He says, "Ambition without knowledge is like a boat on dry land." And so he has some good moments like that. You have Michael Ironside in here as the Colonel, Paul Dugan, the head of the Alpha Elite. And again, it's sort of, if you want to say, he's a, crease, but more of a light crease. You can probably say this is even more of a crazier version of Kreese, but, for what he's given here, he's okay. I like Michael Ironside. He's great in Total Recall as Richter, and he makes a great villain. And I felt, again, he was okay here for what he has in the film. You have the boyfriend in the film played by Chris Conrad as this character Eric. And this guy, I remember he would go on to play Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, where he died in the first 5 minutes. But I thought, the relationship between Julie and the boyfriend here, it's fine. It's not a hindrance on the movie. It doesn't bring down the film. Or it's it's a drag. It's not, again, it's not the relationship of a Ralph Macchio and Elizabeth Shue. But it's fine here. It's okay. Again, it's not a hindrance or anything. And the actor isn't bad. Now, getting to the Alpha Elite, you have this character Ned, who is played by Michael Cavalieri. And I always felt this guy, to me, I can only speak for myself. This guy always, to me, resembled Ben Stiller. And I don't know why. It's like if Ben Stiller had a little bit more muscle. And I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe he's the diet version of Ben Stiller. I don't know. It's just something about his features, what have you. He kind of has like a little Ben Stiller, some of the facials maybe, but kind of a little bit of Ben Stiller in the face. I don't know, but he's okay. I mean, meh. I mean, it's definitely a lesser, Johnny Lawrence. I just felt this guy, he was just there. Again, he's not, I've seen worse, but again, he's there. What's interesting is you also have Walton Goggins. I knew I recognized him. I'm like, is that who I think it is in the Alpha Elite? I want to make sure here. Yeah, Walton Goggins. Yeah, from Predators. And I know he was in a new movie, Fat Man, with Mel Gibson. Yeah, he's one of the members of the Alpha Elite here. So I'm like, hey, I recognize that guy. And so, I mean, the cast overall, again, it's fine. Hilary Swank is fine. Pat Morita, he's still good. Michael Ironside, for what he's given, he's fine. I don't mind the boyfriend. I mean, he's okay. And actually, Frank Welker is the voice of the Hawk. Interesting enough. But even that I didn't mind, caring for the Hawk. That element in the film, I didn't mind. Now, it was directed by Christopher Cain. And before this, Christopher Cain directed The Principal, Young Guns, which is great. I haven't seen The Principal, but afterward he would direct The Amazing Panda Adventure, which I haven't, well, actually, I do have, but I have not seen that film in a long time, years. Gone Fishing, comedy with Joe Pesci and Danny Glover. Now, John Avildsen was slated to direct this movie, but he dropped out to make 8 Seconds with Luke Perry. But Christopher Cain here, direction-wise, I mean, I would say it's fine. I mean, I wonder if maybe this is... If this movie, this type of film was a little bit out of his wheelhouse. Because, I mean, he directed Young Guns, which is a much better film. I haven't seen The Principal, but if I can guess, it's a better film. So I don't know what... I would like to know what was the reasoning or reason for, for having Christopher Cain here direct the film. Because it's not, a comedy like Gone Fishing, which I know he would do later. But I don't know. Again, I felt his direction here was fine. But here you have a different writer, written by Mark Lee. This is actually the first Karate Kid film not to be written by Robert Mark Kamen. And as far as the script, I think I said a little bit in the beginning, it kind of goes into, there's some moments where it goes into familiar territory. Like, okay, you get the wax on, wax off, so you get some familiar elements in the plot that, okay, you've seen this before in the original Karate Kid. But if I compared this film to Karate Kid Part 3, I'll watch this film over Karate Kid Part 3. To me, this film is not as... It doesn't really get me into a rage, I guess. Like Karate Kid Part 3. To me, this is more of a harmless sequel. Because, the script... When I look at the script for this film, there's some areas where I felt maybe they could have cut out some of the silly moments. For example, the villains bungee jumping from the roof or the ceiling of the gym, I thought was silly. So maybe I would say, okay, you could have touched up some moments in the script, but I'd rather watch this than Karate Kid Part 3. I like the chemistry between Julie and Miyagi. It's actually a decent chemistry. Now, when I look at the box office, the film's budget was around $12 million, and it made about $16 million. So, it kind of came and went, and it was critically panned. But a lot of critics praised Hilary Swank, and again, it was a breakout performance. So, she would move on to bigger and better things. And I wonder what she would think. I wonder what she thinks about the film now. But at the time this film came out, it was going up against films like Wagons East, Milk Money, and I think like a week later, Time Cop came out. So, but yeah. So at the end of the day, I would say with the next Karate Kid, again, I say it's a decent time waster. The end fight, it's there. It's there. Cool to see, Pat Morita fight Michael Ironside, but, it's fine for what you have. But I would say, okay, when I break down the pros with the film, I like the chemistry between Julie and Miyagi. I think it's a decent chemistry. There was a certain warmness there. Some of the training is okay. Like some of the training where Julie goes to the monastery. So again, that's fine. Some decent songs in the film by the Cranberries. I think the song is called Dreams. But it's cool to hear that. I like the Cranberries. And then at the end of the film, you had that song by Desiree. I think it's after, at the credits or at the very end of the film. You gotta be bold, you gotta be... Yeah, that song. That's in the movie. But that's at the credits. The score is still fine by Bill Conti, and it still works. So, and the direction's fine. So, yeah, there's some good points that I'll give it. As far as the cons, again, I think it could have cut out some of the silly moments with the villains bungee jumping from the the ceiling of the gym. So I think the script could have been touched up more. I think that maybe you needed someone to go in there and kind of cut out those moments. So again, it's a decent time waster that to me, is not the worst sequel ever made. It's not even close. But to cap off here, with a couple of questions, just sort of a random thing here. So the questions that I have written down here. Question 1. Is it that bad to warrant a 4.5 in IMDb? And I get if people don't like the film, but I don't think it deserves a 4.5. I mean, to me, like I said, Karate Kid Part 3, I'd rather watch more. I'm sorry, let me backtrack for a second. I'd rather watch this more than Karate Kid Part 3. I have way more problems with that film than this film. Because this film, while it's not a great movie, again, Karate Kid Part 3 offends me more. This is actually not that bad. When I look at, to me, it has a little bit more going for it. And it doesn't really piss me off as much. So I wonder, is it that bad to warrant a 4.5 in IMDb? I think it deserves a little bit higher, but that's just me. The last question I have here, if John Avildsen directed this, would it have turned out different? Perhaps he could have worked with the writer, because the writer didn't go on to do much, from what I understand. Looking at his IMDb, the writer didn't really go on to do anything. And I wonder if John Avildsen, I know he was busy at the time making another film, but maybe he could have worked with the writer to say, okay, let's cut out these moments, like some of the bad moments, and just make it a straightforward, Karate Kid movie. So I wonder if John Avildsen, if he directed this, would it have turned out different? I don't know. But, that's my review of the next Karate Kid. So, again, I would say a decent time waster. Not the worst sequel ever seen. Again, there's some good elements going for the film. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching. And, again, thank you to Creative Comics for pledging to my Patreon. But thank you for watching, and have a good day. Special thanks to the following patrons, and for those interested, feel free to check out my Patreon down below in the description box, which includes tiers for requests and more, as well as PayPal for random requests. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at TheZeroCool. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.